Hey, friends! Yes, this is a very unique Africa memory. This trip was actually completely unplanned. Out of the blue, in December 2006, I got an invitation from a missions pastor back in Virginia, inviting me to join them in Africa for a national convention of African pastors. Pastors from all over Africa were coming together, and they were going to have seminars and teachings for them, and at the end of the conference, like 100 pastors from all over Africa were going to be ordained. And Ron Johnson, who was a pastor at back in Virginia, was going to go do the ordination. And so out of the blue, they invited me along, knowing that I had kind of gotten to know and fall in love with the country of Uganda. So on January 7th, 2007, got on a plane and went to London, and I met Lance Stoddard, who was the pastor who invited me. Met him in London, and then from London we flew to Uganda together. And so it was a most interesting trip. And yes, before you ask, the hat you see in the pictures a little bit later on that I'm wearing in Uganda is the same hat 15 years later that I'm still wearing today. So very durable, Tilly hat. Can't say enough about them. They do last a lifetime. And this one has been all over the world with me. So, all right. Well, let's get into the story of my adventure at the African Harvest Convention 2007. Lance and I arrived on a Monday, and we stayed, got a room at the Sheraton. This was all prearranged by the church in Virginia. Very nice hotel in Kampala, Uganda. It was kind of one of the top hotels there, and very luxurious. And Lance and I shared a room there, and the rest of the pastoral crew came in, and all stayed at this hotel together. So we arrived as kind of an advance party there, and prepared a lot of the conference with the local pastor. His name was Pastor Stephen Simbiala, and he was an evangelist known all over Eastern Africa, all over Africa actually, as one of the most well-known evangelists in Africa. So he was putting on this conference, and we were working directly with him to put this all together. This was actually turned out to be the longest Uganda trip that I made throughout my 14 years of traveling there. We actually stayed there almost 3 weeks. It was 2.5 to 3 weeks, and so a long time to be gone from home, but it was definitely interesting. Now, between my last trip and this trip, we switched to iPhones. We started getting iPhones, so the opportunity to video things and record things, make video recordings, was much more readily available. And so the trips started to have more video recordings to them. So this is, you'll get a chance to actually hear and see me some of my talks in Africa.
So, let me tell you just a little bit about my background. Because a lot of what I'm going to share with you are hard lessons that I've had to learn as the administrator at our church.
Now, something we really have to understand here is that I just been a pastor barely 3 years, and the most people I've ever preached to or taught to was maybe 80 to 100 people. And now I'm thrown into a situation in a foreign country where I'm teaching thousands of people and with a translator, and these people sacrificed just incredibly to be there. Literally, some of them walking for days, hitching rides, riding buses for days, hours and days on end, just to be there. And here I am in front of them. What do I have to share? But it was a unique experience, and I'll treasure it the rest of my life.
I learned how to administrate. And then later God used that and used many of the lessons I learned in that business and how to use His supernatural power to use those skills in the administration of the church.
Now, it's been about just under a year since I was there last, so since I only had about an hour commitment at the conference every day and my weekends were free, I decided to hook up with Charles and my friend there, and I would go and visit the people I had met the year earlier, which is, of course, Pastor Godfrey, his church, his school, and just took the opportunity to get them, to get to know them a little bit more. And so this was also an opportunity to build further relationships there in Uganda. So I was able to multitask there, and it was just a great conference, and then it was just an opportunity to rehash old friendships and solidify relationships. I'm going to end this video by just letting you watch some of the scenes from the ordination service, where over 200 pastors from all over the continent of Africa were ordained, and over the last 15 years, I'm sure, ministered to thousands of churches all over Africa after having been ordained at this conference. So I'll leave you with that. Till next time, bye-bye.
Hallelujah.